have BEC meetings in December or July. And so you won't see a meeting. All the other ones are on there. And then finally, we like to know who you are and where you hail from, what organization you're from. So if you wouldn't mind going in and change your name, you can click on, if your Zoom screen looks like mine, participants, and then it allows you to edit your name and include your organization. That would be wonderful. Right. And we have started highlighting the current issue of Trends magazine because we want to make sure you all have access to the information that is publicly available. Want to encourage you to check out the January Trends issue, which is all about job forecasts for 2026. Just a couple of highlights from that article, that Alaska's projected to add 3,000 jobs in 2026. Oil and gas, healthcare, construction, and transportation are leading that growth. A lot of this growth is coming from the major infrastructure projects that are coming down the pike. There are still workforce shortage issues related to population decline, aging demographics, and Alaska's growing reliance on out-of-state labor. That's despite, workforce demands, we still have those shortages. And then we have just the Trends magazine this month also highlights just how different markets are gaining or losing employment, with Anchorage and Matsu is showing some steady gains, Fairbanks modest growth, and then a dip in the southeast region due to declining seafood industry and some federal job cuts. So those are for more information, check out Alaska Economic Trends and sign up to get it directly in your inbox through this website right here. Okay, we always start with a safety moment. Does anyone have a safety moment for us?
I can go ahead and throw one in just in case. Since we're in the winter season and we've been experiencing a lot more, snowfall and the joy of the cold weather, one of the things to keep in mind in the event as you're traveling about, it's always best to have some, additional warm clothing like an extra jacket or some non-perishable like food items. And if you can, bring water with you where you can, because if in the event a vehicle issue occurs and you're going to be waiting for a tow truck or a mobile repair vehicle to come in to help you out, it's good to have those extra essentials available just in case. And also having a first aid kit available in your vehicle is also super handy as well, because there have been some rare occasions where I've had to change a tire or had to make some adjustments in the road, and it's good to have some key safety essentials available just in case. And also, if you have a collapsible shovel, that can either save yourself or save someone else that might be stuck in the ditch.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Very important. Thanks, Taylor, for that safety moment. All right, well, let's dive into our topic. So when we are talking about Alaska's workforce future, we're often really focusing on the topics of education and workforce shortages, what's the forecast, but it's also really important to talk about how we talk about Alaska, how we brag about Alaska to ourselves and to people outside. And part of our initiative here is bringing these efforts together and thinking more clearly about how we market Alaska as a place to live, work, and build a career. And we want to, in order to do that, we want to really understand who it is that we need to reach, what they care about, how we tell a more coordinated story about the opportunities that we have in our state, because we really want to attract and retain great talent. And so we need that alignment between education, industry, and communities. And so we're going to dig into that a little bit today. We have two wonderful speakers that are actively working in this space and will help us round our conversation. If you have any questions, please go ahead and stick them in the chat and we'll do our best to moderate. First up, we have Bert Lord. Bert serves as the CTE and internship pre-apprenticeship coordinator for the Anchorage School District, where he works with district teams to deliver and align 58 career pathways across middle and high schools. He brings more than a decade of leadership experience in workforce education, vocational training, grant management, including administering federal Perkins funding and building strong K-12 post-secondary and industry partnerships. Mr. Lord is a doctoral candidate in CTE leadership at the University of Wisconsin-Stout with research focused on Alaska's brain drain and the role of CTE and work-based learning in student decision making. And I also have read in his bio that he has international experience doing some really cool work in Thailand also. So you can ask him about that sometime. He is a licensed technical education teacher in both Wisconsin and Alaska and holds advanced project management credentials. He is passionate about creating industry-aligned pathways that retain Alaska's talent and connect students to high-wage, high-demand careers. With that, I'm going to pass it off to Bert.
Thank you, Mari. Appreciate that. Yeah, my name is Bert Lord, as she said, and I've got a presentation just to give you. I'm doing some research in Alaska, specifically on our uh, our students and what we have as a unique environment here. One of our super unique environments is not just that we're up here in one of the northern states, but the um, the fact that even in our cities we kind of have a rural mindset, and then the simple fact that a lot of our jobs we bring people from the lower 48 up to work in our jobs. So even when we have federal jobs and federal job money coming in here, a lot of times that's eaten up by foreign workers. So in order to make the most of and utilize most of the funding and resources coming our way, it's a good idea for us to try to find local talent to be able to fill those roles. So I've got a presentation here. Let me see. Can you guys see this?
We
Yep, we
can,
can see it.
There we go.
great.
All right, so
It's also showing closed captioning, FYI.
all right, let me shut that off again. Okay, thank you. All right, so marketing Alaska to our students. That's one of the things, because in Alaska we have, this is me. In Alaska we have a very interesting phenomenon in the fact that we have a lot of our students leave, right? And that's where the topic of the Alaskan brain drain is coming from. And what we're really trying to do is we're seeing how rootedness is really affecting our students, and we're looking at why do our students leave? Number one, right? And you know, is there anything we can do that actually changes that? We're looking at the CT courses that we have in Anchorage School District, as well as our work-based learning activities, and seeing like what impact those really have on the students and their decisions. And then what is our current data that we're collecting now? What does it show? And what can we do? What can we do to make sure the kids actually stay here? Um, the survey that I'm doing it's actually a comprehensive survey of all of the seniors in Anchorage School District, asking them what their intentions are post graduation. And we have the ability to see which one of them have done internships, externships, work partnerships, and then which ones have taken CT courses. And so we're going to evaluate what exactly, what does a student who has that look like? We know that students with CT courses are more likely to graduate and have, better retention. But we want to see, we want to ask these questions of why they're really, why they're making the decisions they make.
Hey Siri, what's the weather going to be like today?
What's the weather going to be like today?
The temperature will be 40 degrees.
Did I hear someone ask that? I don't know. I have no idea.
I think that was unintentional, Bert.
Oh, okay.
Let's keep going.
I was like, interesting. The existing research, so there's tons of research. I have over 146 citations and research that I'm doing, and obviously I'm not going to have time to go over all those here, but there's four kind of studies that really kind of stand out, right? And so we have Gretchen Becker's Where Alaskans Go After Graduating. Havel Hansen and Ashley Pearson looked at the pathways and discovered over 3,000 individual pathways. And then the Alaska Higher Education Almanac that has put out lots of really good information. And then in 2004, Jeff Hadland had actually done an Alaska's brain drain myth or reality study. And so I've pulled off of some of his information there. Where Alaskans go after graduating from high school, just some data on this. If you take a look, 2/3 choose to attend some sort of post-secondary education. 53% of it is in state, 29% out of state, then 18% is like a mixed in and out of state. And then stay or return to Alaska. We actually have declining rates in students who choose to return or stay in Alaska. So as our students go out of state, specifically to gain an education, we're seeing a much lower number of them returning. And we are seeing an increased number of those who are exiting us on that. And if you look, since 2014, college enrollment rates for Alaska high school graduates has decreased pretty significantly. And there's a lot of blame given to COVID. But if you look, we went from 51% to 34% before COVID hit. And we did see a recent uptick over the last year of 2% as increased, but we're seeing a much lower rate of actually students enrolling in any kind of post-secondary. And then our high school graduating rates enrolling in state and out of state. So for the longest time, our in-state rate was dropping. And you'll see that since the Alaska scholarship and things that have gone into place, our in-state numbers are starting to go back up, in which we're actually there's more now going in-state than out of state. And a lot of that is because of Alaska scholarship that is given to a lot of these students. So it becomes much cheaper for them to go in state. But also University of Alaska, Anchorage and Fairbanks has been doing really good at getting into the high schools and letting them know what degree programs are available. There was an issue before that was noted that they just didn't know what was available. And so with modifying some of their marketing, they actually are able to reach more students and get more students local. Also, some of their online options have assisted with that as well. Yeah, and you see the enrollment rates for Alaska high school graduates decreased from 52 to 33% in 2023, but increased in 2024. Then where do they go after graduating from high school, right? We talked about, where are we going here? Hold on. Boop, boop. Might help if I go the right way. There we go. Alaska students' pathways from high school to post-secondary education and employment. Approximately 10,000 students leave Alaska high schools each year, right? So that's how many we've got graduating. And there's 3,000 unique pathways that have been discovered by this REL Northwest when they wanted to determine the post-secondary pathways. 12% of students leave Alaska, and the remaining either work, get an education, or continue to live in Alaska. But we are seeing consistently 12% of our students are leaving either immediately or within the first couple of years. And then even if they go to school here, UAA graduates, how many of them work in Alaska? You'll see that the year after they graduate, about 78% of our graduates, college graduates, will stay here. But that 5 years later, we're retaining only 60% of our students. The rest of them are going to the lower 48 or out migrating in some way or another. And then part part of the reason why I actually chose the title Alaska's Brain Drain is because of the 2004 study by Jeff Hedlund. And he did a deep dive on Alaskan graduates and looking at education outmigration from Alaska. And during the study, he found that those Alaskans who obtained advanced degrees in education are more likely to leave Alaska. And this is similar to what we're seeing now. And in fact, when I was reading through his report and looking at what he was determining we had as outmigration rates and who was leaving and everything like that, there really is not a change. And so, even though he did some good research and got some information over to the universities and some of us at the state, um, whatever actions we took didn't seem to be really changing the dynamics of who's leaving and why or who's leaving. As far as why they're leaving, we're not really asking that. At least I have not found a lot of good surveys that found out why our students are leaving. I have found several surveys out there and research out there that talks about why someone makes the choice to leave. And so financial is often one of the largest reasons someone chooses to leave an area because it's got an economic depression or something like that. And, there are other reasons for people to move, but that's usually the predominant one. And there's a lot of studies done on something called rootedness. And rootedness is, someone's real attachment to anything, right? It's in the word. So like a person's rootedness to a location, it's like a bond, often an emotional bond. And this is predominantly created by feeling secure, comfortable at home, identifying with a unique character or history. And this is often gained through any types of social interactions, civic engagement, having family nearby, and just having a sense of belonging. Another study that was done showed that Alaskan female graduates had one of the largest feelings of not being connected to their community of anywhere in the United States. And so there's a lot that has gone into trying to get our kids to feel like this is really the home and not someplace that they just move on from. And there's actually a really interesting program with Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Rooted Alaska, the Career Guide Initiative. And with the partners that they have, they're actually going in and working with counselors to help them explore careers, apply for college and training programs, and just it's really focused on rural communities. But some of the stuff we're doing at ASD, I take out of their programs here and just what are we doing to help our students feel rooted to our community? And once you feel rooted to a community, you really don't want to leave. And I was asked about what is our low hanging fruit? What are the things that we can do? So we can see the data, we can see the information that's happened. I think everyone can agree that um, we do see students leaving and we have a problem with keeping people here. As Mari said earlier, we have 3,000 job openings right now, but at Anchor School District, we're at the end of the year, we're probably going to graduate around 2,300 students. So even if every single graduate took those open jobs, we don't have enough graduates to take all the jobs that are out there. And there's just going to be more jobs opening up. And if their jobs on a slope or their jobs that can be done online, we can continue to hire lower 48 people to do those jobs. But then again, that money is just fleeing our economy instead of going into, people living here and paying real estate taxes and buying food from local vendors and stuff like that. That's not going to be something that we can see. So how can we as a state make Alaska more welcoming to our students and our current residents? What are the simple things that we can do? Well, I have some solutions, and um, they're chiefly for Anchorage School District, right? They're kind of slated towards what I do. And so if you're looking for that low-hanging fruit, like what are the things that you can actually do that are to really help students feel rooted and market Alaska to our students? Um, School visits. We actually have a program where you can reach out to me directly. We have a few other people. We've got two people, Colette and Soraya, that work a lot with partnering with our companies in Anchorage and actually coming in working with the schools. But you can come in and you can do school visits. School visits can take many forms. You can come in and talk to a specific class, help that class with a project. But just, get your name and your face out there. There's a lot of different items you can come in and work with, not specifically to talk about your company or what you do, but you can come in and then, we have events that we have. And so getting into the school, getting your brand into the school, letting the students and teachers know that you exist is an important thing. And speaking of letting teachers know that you exist, our teachers and our counselors, one of the very successful things we've seen is when they do externships out with your companies. And because if the teacher or the counselor doesn't know your company exists, obviously they can't talk about it, right? If the teachers and the counselors don't know much about your industry or don't know how you can get into that job or get into that industry or start working on that, there's no way that they can market that to our students. And the majority of our kids still, even with our large homeschooling contingent we have here, the majority of the people here in Alaska go through our public schools. And so getting in and getting those teachers and those counselors in our public schools to your location, know what you do, is really pertinent to, make those kids understand what is available here and what they can do. Getting into our career expo. So our freshman academies, they always have a career expo at the beginning of the year where every single one of our freshman students comes in to the Dinah Center, and we have all these companies there that are able to. It's not really a job fair. We don't want it to be a job fair, but it's a career expo. We want exposure to the different careers that are out there, and so we have a lot of amazing partners that come in there, and they showcase what it is they do to the students, and so the students, throughout their high school career, then they can be mindful and understanding of what's available. I mean, they don't have to pick right there. That's why we bring everybody, not just one person, and they can see all the different options of what they can do. And that makes it so your industry or whatever is visible in their mind when they're working through everything. High school internships, obviously, I push that because I'm the high school internship person. Getting a student to your actual place of business, like specifically to your place of business, getting them to work there for 60 hours, showing them firsthand exactly what it is you do on site. And then obviously that student learns about you, but that student then talks to all their friends and they're able to spread like, oh my goodness, this is the cool stuff we can do at this company here. And more people become aware of what's available. One thing we also like to do is hiring days. This is kind of a really cool event. Like in a lot of schools, they'll do if someone gets on a sports team or something like that, they'll make a big deal about signing onto that college to go play sports there. So one of the things that we like to do is if you're already working with some high school students and they're working at your company, one of the cool things you can do is go in and do a hiring day, a signing day in the school where load them up with some of your swag, hats and jackets, whatever you can do, but make sure the kids are there. And so the kids see like, oh, he's getting a job, coming right out of school, or they're going to help support him with a job while he's going to college or while she's getting an education at one of our tech schools or one of our training programs, or the entities that are really good at that are the unions. They like to do that. And so this is something something that'd be much easier to push. And then of course our pathways, right? So we need help in developing our pathways. So like Mari said earlier, we have 58 individual pathways across Anchorage School District in our high schools. We developed those because we reached out to industry, and industry told us here's exactly what we need going through. And so as if to be a voice for your industry and making sure that we in the school have at least there's a pathway where we're educating and informing our kids about the pathway that leads into your company, into your industry, into your position. That's just something to make sure that that pathway exists, and reaching out to your schools and ensuring it's there is paramount to any work that we can really to make our students feel rooted and connected to our community and make them aware of the options. At least there always are going to be the students that say, I'm sick of the weather, I want to leave, or my grandparents moved down here and they have a job for me. I mean, and that's going to happen, right? But the thing that I mostly want to prevent is the kids who have a really strong interest in doing something that they don't know exists here. And they leave, they go to lower 48, they go somewhere else that does a better job at marketing that exists. And then we lose out on them when we shouldn't. There's no reason we should have lost out on them because we have that here and we're able to support their desires here. So that is all I had. This is my information here. I put it in the chat as well. And I see Tony Richard, you said, what is the process for registering to set up a table for the King Tech spring hiring? Oh, okay. Yeah, Sean Schubert can definitely answer that. Perfect. All right, let me click out of here.
Thank you, Bert. That was fascinating. I wonder if are there questions? This was just so interesting. I have a couple of follow-up questions, Bert. Can
Yes,
you give
ma'am.
us first of all, that you had mentioned the like a what did you call it? A hiring, like this hiring day or hiring announcement? Is that, can you talk about what that looks like? Is that an assembly where the
So
employers come and,
it can be anything
Yeah.
realistically. The what what a hiring day. So what I have done in the past is I have set up, is my screen still shared? Oh, hold on a second here. Can you pull that back, Mari?
let's see. I don't think I can stop sharing for you.
Hold on, let me share. Did I stop sharing, guys? Can you see?
Yep.
Okay. All right. You get okay, good. So what I've done with these in the past is I have actually it's just an assembly, right? So we get as many students as we can possibly pack into an auditorium or a gym, whatever it is, right? And we put up the table out there. The companies that it actually amazes me how in like how much a company will invest into this sometimes. It starts out with just a table out there. You've got like some little logos on the tables, whatever, and the kid comes out just like it's a, he's signing for his, to go play for the Green Bay Packers or whatever, right? And so you come in there and he signs his contract and you talk about, okay, yeah, he's going to be doing he or she's going to be doing this work. They're going to be, this is what they're getting paid. Sometimes they let them know, and they put a hat on them with a logo and a jacket or a shirt or any kind of swag that they have in there just to really get that information out there for the people to see it. And it's always been very successful. I found in generating more and more conversation within the school. But yeah, you can make it as complicated and intricate as you want, or it can be a really simple thing. But you just bring all the kids into an assembly and do a signing there, and it's just a way to get the opportunity out there for the most kids at the
A,
with
Yeah.
a
with
couple,
a single event.
there's a couple of concrete examples, like probably the one that is has the longest history is King Tech does a signing day, an apprenticeship signing day, and a hiring day. I don't know that they do it as an assembly. I think it's a function where they invite families, to come in and do it. So it could look that way as well. Certainly, the assembly is nice because, as Bert said, you're putting it in front of other students and starting to get them thinking about, oh, what do I want to do, or what? Oh, that would be kind of cool, or so it's helpful. The other thing I wanted to pitch in on and mention in this group, because the district is facing a structural deficit, as a lot of districts, the Anchorage School District across the state districts are facing, budget shortfalls again this year, despite the ESA increase last year, which caught us up, I don't know, 60%, 50% of what we've lost since 2017. But one of the things that we currently have with Academies of Anchorage is the Bert did mention, although he did a good job of covering a lot of things that we're doing, but as academy coaches, work real closely. Like our students are in a college career exploration class at ninth grade. Like we're really trying to systematize career exploration in our system and start at upper, elementary school, so that students are having, you're asking them the questions. What are you interested in? What sparks your passion? What are you, and then trying to get them exposed to as many things as they can up through middle school. And then even as a freshman in high school, really doing some digging in and taking a look and doing some thinking about what they want to do and what it is going to take, what's that trajectory? What is that pathway? So academy coaches are instrumental in that. We also regularly send students to post-secondary institutions. Not only do we have the campus visits at UAA, we send students to APU. We send a number of students to AvTech on a full day trip. They're wonderful experiences, and so those are some of the other things that I would throw in there as maybe low-hanging fruit.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you both. Okay, any other questions? I don't think I see any other questions. I was gonna ask you about your research timeline, but Bert, and when you think you'll be able to come back and give us the results of what you found through your doctoral research, but maybe you could put that in the chat so we can move on, switch gears a little bit and introduce our next speaker.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to see if I can spotlight. How do I spotlight you? Taylor, maybe you can help me figure out how to spotlight Kari. But I just want to switch gears a little bit, introduce Kari Nore. So Kari works for the Alaska Chamber, and this I think is the first time at the BEC that we've had the Alaska Chamber on, and we're so glad that you came here to talk about the Alaska Chamber. It's so important to highlight you all, I think, for us, because and that we maybe start working with you, partnering together perhaps in the future. So the Alaska Chamber is dedicated to improving the business environment in Alaska, and they represent the businesses of Alaska, and they focus on how we can make Alaska a great place for businesses to come. I don't want to steal your thunder about what you're going to talk about, Kari, but Kari is the external affairs director for the chamber. Kari served previously as the project manager for the Resource Development Council of Alaska. So she brings that industry experience. She spent about 6 years also working in the Alaska State Legislature, advancing from front desk scheduler to senior staff position in the Senate President's office. Kari holds a BA in political science with a double major in French and psychology from Gonzaga University. She is a lifelong Alaskan who was born and raised in North Pole, and in her spare time, she can be found outside with her golden retriever named Mabel, or out on the water, fishing, or doing yoga. So welcome, Kari. Happy to have you here, and I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Mari, and appreciate that introduction. And my golden is actually laying beside me right here because she can't be anywhere outside of my aura when I'm working from home. So thanks so much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today about some of the different initiatives. And actually, I love that Bert went first because he brought something to mind that I didn't necessarily have on my notes, but now I'm excited to also add that into what we're going to talk about a little bit today. But just wanted to give a little bit of an overview of what the Chamber is. So the Alaska Chamber, we are Alaska's most diverse statewide business advocacy organization. Like Mari said, our mission here is to promote a healthy business environment in Alaska. And so we intentionally keep that broad because it allows us to work on lots of different projects to encourage a healthy business environment here within the state. So we have more than 700 members, and we represent businesses of all sizes and industries across Alaska. And we directly represent about 58,000 Alaskan workers, and that represents just about 4.6 billion in wages. So just kind of give you a little bit of context about what the Alaska Chamber is as far as our reach and our scope. So I know one of the things that Mari and I talked about in our pre-meeting earlier this week was this sort of Marketing Alaska campaign. And so about a year and a half ago, the Alaska Chamber started partnering with the Department of Commerce, Community, and Economic Development to create a campaign to work on educating Alaskans about about the different industries across the state, what we do really well and why we do it well. Um, and so I didn't prepare any slides, partly because, as Mari and I talked about in that pre-meeting, we are actually in the middle of doing a complete sort of refresh of this campaign as we move into year 2. And so that campaign's not quite ready to be rolled out. And so I didn't necessarily want to show you the old stuff that we're working on, but we're really excited about this new stuff that's rolling out. And so this campaign for this sort of part of the Marketing Alaska, and I guess taking a 10,000 foot level step, the DCCED has this broader Marketing Alaska campaign, and it's sort of separated into 2 buckets. We have the sort of marketing to outside of Alaska, and then we have marketing to inside the state. And so DCCED, my understanding is you've heard a little bit from Deputy Commissioner Latham about the Alaska Business Initiative, which is their outside of the state presentation that they've been working on. It's a great website that they have been going to different events across the country to really talk about Alaska, what we do well here, and work to bring investment, bring businesses, bring jobs, bring people, all of those things that we're looking for. So our side of it is this It's Your Business campaign. And so the It's Your Business campaign, we started to focus on predominantly the 3 major resource industries. So we are focusing on oil and gas, mining, and tourism. And so we spent a lot of time working with our different trade association partners, happy to see several of them on the call today, to get that information and that data, because we know Alaska does it best, and to get that information and that data to then share with across the state of how the mining industry is, has some of the best environmental standards across the country. And we know we do it the best here, and how can we keep doing it better? And so that's what we started in this campaign. And now as we move forward and look ahead to the years to come, we are really looking at how can we continue to do it better? What's next? What's that next big project? What's that next big, oil and gas development? What's that next big industry, whether or not that's oil and gas, mining, tourism, whether it's data centers, whether it's some other economic impact that we can bring to the state to really grow and attract that new workforce and retain those that we have. And so that's kind of where we've been at with that campaign. But something that Bert brought up that I wasn't necessarily thinking of is he kept talking about being rooted in the community and how can we ensure that those kids that we have here in the state stay rooted and come back. I have a unique story in that I grew up in North Pole. I ended up leaving for college, but I came right back because I could not imagine living anywhere else. And part of that was because I did a lot with some civic education. And so something that's brand new that the Chamber's only been doing for the last, this is year 3 of the National Civics Bee. And so this National Civics Bee is a program for middle schoolers, so 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And this National Civics Bee campaign is so it's a contest similar to the National Spelling Bee in that they have to write an essay to talk about something of civic importance within their community or important to them. And they submit this essay and they'll compete at a local level to, they have to answer some quiz questions, they win cash prizes, then they get to compete at a state level. And that's where the state chamber comes in as we host the state competition. And then after they compete at the state level, if they win, they get to then go compete at the national level in Washington, D.C. And that comes with a complete all expense paid trip to D.C. In fact, the very first year that we held the National Civics Bee competition here in Alaska, we had the national winner. She came from Alaska. She came from Romig Middle School. Her name was Emily Brubaker. She is amazing and phenomenal. And so we are really excited that so it's brand new. And so we are growing every year. And so it's really exciting. We have the Anchorage Chamber participating in this year. The Fairbanks Chamber is participating in it, as is the Ketchikan Chamber. And so we have local competitions happening in 3 locations across the state this year. So we're really excited about it, especially being that this is America's 250th anniversary. And so every year that we do this, we get a little bit bigger and we grow. And we've found that at least within the Anchorage School District, that this has been a fun way for those sort of history or English professors to add a little bit of extra credit and say, here's this essay that you write. You'll get to enter to win. And they win cash prizes along the way, which is pretty incredible. If you talk to any 6th, 7th, and 8th grader and you're like, hey, you want to compete for $500 all the way up to $1,000? So it's been really fun to see how this has progressed over the years. Um, and so we are, in fact, I will put the link in the chat. Give me just a minute here. And the applications are open. They're open until early February. So there's still time to compete for the competition this year. And and we're always looking for partners. So this has been the one thing is we every time we encourage or I volunteer my board that they have to come to the event, and every time they're like, "This was amazing. How did I not know that this existed?" And so that's one of the things we're really working to get that message out to talk to people about it. So let me get this in the chat here. And so it was just interesting to hear Bert talk about the need for civic education to really keep rooting students into the community, to show that they have an impact, to show that they have meaning. And so that's something that we're definitely working on to try and build that bridge to grow these students to stay here. Because that's part of why I ended up staying is I got to spend a lot of time working with my local legislators, and I got to see that impact and how I could really be effective within my community. And it was one of the reasons why I couldn't imagine not coming back and being back in Alaska. So that's another piece of things that we're working on. But something else that the Alaska Chamber spends most of our time, and honestly, most of my time, is on all of our advocacy work. Because we are an advocacy organization that the Alaska Chamber, we spend, in fact, I am gearing up. Legislative session starts next week, and that will take my whole focus here for the next 90 to 121 days of just tracking bills, tracking policies to make sure that we are ensuring that Alaska is the best place to do business, to make sure we're not implementing policies that might be detrimental to how businesses can operate. And so that's just a small part of what we have going on here at the chamber. And Mari, I guess I'll pause. I know we have sort of a time crunch in case there are questions or if people want more information about stuff. I know I threw a lot of information at people. I can also throw in our general website if people want to learn more about the chamber, because there's so much on our website and so much that we do. But happy to answer any questions.
I think we have some time. If you want to share a couple of the priority areas that you're focusing in on for advocacy, it might not be specifically workforce related, but that's okay. I think we'd love to hear about a couple of them.
Yeah. So we have, well, I have a long list. We have a massive priorities and positions document that we work off of throughout the year. It's a living document. We change it every year. But a couple of the different things that we are really going to be focusing on this session. And I know there are a couple of people on the call who are familiar with the ballot measure that was passed in 2024. That was sort of a mega ballot measure that had it had the increase to minimum wage, it had paid sick leave, and it had a no captive audience piece. And something that we're really trying to work on is to make some revisions to that paid sick leave piece. We know for the most part, most businesses are paying above minimum wage at this time. And so that wasn't necessarily something we were super concerned with. It was this paid sick leave piece that was really rigid in how it was implemented. It didn't give a lot of flexibility. And one thing that Alaskans know is we don't take one size fits all, doesn't work for us. And so with this paid sick leave for a lot of these small businesses, it was if you have two or more employees, you are required to track and keep on your books paid sick leave. So for a mom and pop shop, that is just, a husband and wife who run their own business, that doesn't really work for them because, if they're sick or they have something that comes up, they're just going to close that business. And so it's really tricky to require them to put that sick leave on the books, maintain that liability, that accounting, all of that sort of red tape that comes with when you implement these policies. And so we're working to find some tweaks to make it a little bit more easy for small businesses to comply, but also seasonal businesses, because it was sort of across the board. It didn't give any flexibility for part-time, full-time, if you're a seasonal operator. It was very rigid in how it was to be implemented. And we found that several of these, small business tourism operators across Alaska, especially in Southeast, are really struggling with this. So there is a bill, we've been working on it. There's a House and a Senate bill. So we're going to see if we can maybe get that across the finish line this year. We'll see what happens. But some of the other stuff is we're always advocating for a sustainable fiscal plan, just because we know if we don't have a sustainable budget that we can work off of, that's going to be really difficult to predict state spending, and it's going to make it very difficult for industries if they don't have certainty in what those structures are going to look like for taxes and the like. So that's just a couple of things. There's lots of other small bills here and there that we'll be picking up, just making sure that we're not trying to target a specific industry to carry all of the water. It's really making sure that everything is fair and well considered.
Thank you so much, Kari. Any other questions for Kari from the group? And if not, I will remove your spotlight. Thank you so much. If you are able to stay on for a few minutes, both Kari and Bert will we'll just keep monitoring the chat. I'm going to share my screen now. And so we heard from two different kinds of speakers today. We got to think about how we can better market Alaska to Alaskans, to young Alaskans, so that they stay and we're able to retain a workforce for Alaska. And then we heard from Kari at the Alaska Chamber a little bit, thinking big picture about how we attract businesses to how we can keep Alaska a place where people want to do business. And we talked about marketing at our in-person BEC meeting back in October. And I wanted to take this time to share what some of the feedback that we received. First of all, can everybody see my screen? Am I sharing my screen?
Yes,
I can see our priorities.
Yes, our priorities. Okay. All right. Okay, great. So, and I have shared this slide in the past. I just wanted to reiterate that these presentations today are meant to help us think about how we can work together more effectively to market Alaska, which is this number 3 item here. But just to review, our organizational priorities here at the Alaska Workforce Alliance right now is to work on these 4 points. One, we want to work on making data and information more accessible to those who need it, particularly around training and workforce availability. And right now we're doing some work with funding this, also waiting to kind of see what other folks are going to come up with that are working on data so that we can be coordinated and not redundant. We also work on career awareness initiatives. We've continued to focus on maritime career awareness. That's where we're funded, and that's where we've been asked by industry to focus on. But we at our organization, we care about all the industries of Alaska. And then today we're talking about marketing coordination, because we want to help increase the coordination between industry and government and everyone else to maximize the resources that we're putting into marketing Alaska in all the different ways. And then finally, we want to partner with the Department of Labor. We want to partner with DOL on all of these initiatives, and also to focus on the untapped workforce in Alaska. And I've had a couple of questions from folks about the working group to work on these items, and we have taken a pause, but we're going to start back up in February. So if you were on the working group, you're interested in continuing, you'll be hearing from me here shortly on all of that. So during our in-person convening in October, we heard from Deputy Commissioner Latham. She gave us as Kari noted, she gave us an overview of the Alaska Business Initiative. We also heard from Cassidy Cameron, who I saw on this call, regarding the work that KPED is doing to promote the Kenai Peninsula region in growing their economy and promoting the Kenai Peninsula is a great place to live and work. And we also heard from AHA that's the Hospital Association, related to the initiatives that they're working on, that's coming specifically from the healthcare industry to market Alaska. And then we also looked at some examples from other states. What are the other states doing? Followed by a tabletop conversation that we had within that room. And I wanted to share today the feedback that we got from that tabletop conversation. We organized it so we, all the written notes on the big sticky pad so that we can report this back to you. The feedback that we got, we heard we could kind of divide it into two broad categories. One is related to collaboration and partnerships, and the other broad category is marketing and communication engagement. Under collaboration and partnerships, we heard a strong emphasis on the need for collaboration between K-12, adult basic education, and industry to address these workforce gaps that we're seeing, and that this collaboration is really, it's a necessity, but it's also a big challenge. People noted that there are silos between organizations and between sectors, and how can we address those silos? There were suggestions including leveraging leadership teams. The Bering Strait region was noted there, bridging school districts and industry and expanding post-secondary transition partnerships. And there's a need for better communication, possibly organizing by topic rather than by entity. I'm not exactly sure what folks meant by this, but I imagine it's like thinking about what instead of saying, okay, which agency is responsible for this, thinking more along the lines of what's the problem we're trying to solve, and then aligning around those shared problems. I imagine that's what that was about. So that practical coordination versus like organizing structurally. And under marketing and in community engagement, marketing Alaska as a place to live and work is really crucial. So highlighting diversity, local success stories, unique opportunities, and then industry and community organizations are encouraged to help with advocacy and educational outreach. I think we heard from Bert that how important it is for employers to go into classrooms, and that engagement helps root people into the community. And then reaching out to non-traditional audiences using diverse speakers that can unify messaging and improve recruitment. So, I mean, I imagine things like looking at people who are mid-career or looking at adults that might be disconnected from formal education might be some examples of that. Okay, so what are the barriers and challenges that people mentioned in these breakout sessions? Well, housing. So housing for teachers, for employees with families, housing for students. It's a recurring barrier that we are facing. And then funding continuity, licensure requirements, and logistical challenges, especially because we have such a large state that is hindering progress. Non-resident hiring and the need to recruit retiring professionals as instructors was made. I guess that's an opportunity perhaps. And then challenges including high turnover in adult and career and adult education and CTE, recruitment difficulties, and the need for more practical transferable skills and education was mentioned. And in terms of what's working well, local nursing training programs were mentioned, industry engagement was mentioned, and the use of technology for tracking and outreach were seen as positives. And some regions have strong marketing and apprenticeship models. I think Cape Head was, or the Kenai Peninsula Borough was mentioned, and regional training centers. And then in terms of what's needed, we heard more career guides, more robust career guidance in K-12 and adult education for Alaskans. Thank you, Bert, for bringing up the root ed model, but we need to keep hammering that, and we will organizationally as well. And centralized resources, so a one-stop shop for all workforce and education information. was mentioned, and then greater involvement from tribal leaders, health foundations, and other community partners. People asked for more time to have discussions like we had in that room, and more time for more opportunities perhaps for collaboration. And a call for more career guidance for parents and students on career pathways and for industry engagement with schools. There was also mention of English language learner supports and world language skills that are seen as important for economic growth. So some of the call to action that we saw from the convening is that continued conversation and outreach to local communities, maximizing and unifying these marketing efforts and reducing, increasing communications. I think we do that through meetings like this to reduce silos between organizations, so we learn and know about what we are working on in our different corners. Focusing on flexibility, innovation, and leveraging local strengths, and celebrating the successes and sharing with each other the various models that are working. And I love that we were able to do that today. Some notable quotes that came out of our convening: we need to recruit retiring industry professionals as CTE instructors. Industry needs are immediate. It's really difficult to wait and train. And a need for one-stop page for all sources. And I think that is in regards to a web page. So that kind of concludes my report of what we heard in during our convening back in October. I'll just stop sharing here and see if we have any questions. Casey, come on in.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for sharing the information. I was wondering, in context to the webpage idea that you were talking about, has there been any discussion, or maybe it already exists and I'm not aware, but is there a centralized spot that lists online degree programs for the state of Alaska? And I'm thinking about like our rural students and how we market options to them for those that want to stay at home. Is there a resource out there that lists, these are all the programs that you can do, right from your own home, right? Like that's something that we've been thinking about as we learn about different online degree programs, but the information seems like it's all over the place. And so that would be a helpful document if it doesn't already exist for counselors and for anybody who's interested in those learning opportunities that they can do virtually. Just curious if others know on the call if there's anything out there like that.
Yeah, let's do some groupthink. I don't know of a centralized web page that offers that. I mean, I'm thinking about websites that just generally offer information about degree programs or training programs that are out there. And I feel like that is also a little bit scattered. Of course, AKCIS and Julie, AKCIS.org does have Alaska and National Post-Secondary Schools and Training Program scholarships. Julia, is that organized by online versus in-person training?
It's not necessarily just online versus in person, but each school and training facility can update that information and list it how they want to. And all of that would be located in one location and available for students to not only explore, but save and track. So as they apply, as they have an interest, as they've researched one and they've decided, well, this one's not for me, they can make a note to that. If this one, oh, I want to find out more about this, I'm going to ask so-and-so, because we're creating self-advocates, students who know what they want to ask for, how to ask for it, where to ask for it, as we're working in personal learning and career plans in AKCIS. So there's 6,000 schools and training facilities with online tours, campus pictures, that kind of thing, but over 100 of those are Alaska specific. And so we always want to get that new information, while the information will be always listed in the same order so that when students get get used to finding a piece of information, they can continue to find that information in the same place every time they change school or training facility. But they also have the link to go back directly to that school or training's website so that they can dig deeper about that particular place and find out, is this the place for me? And who do I contact at that location? So those are always things, but I will take back to our programmers about trying to track if it's an online opportunity. That's a very difficult thing, both at the Peterson's database level nationally and locally, for somebody to say this program is offered completely online, or this is a hybrid, or this is a, that those are difficult things for them to find. They can filter by whether or not, or by what size a community is, how large the facility is, how much money it costs, what the location is, um, programs of study with regards to the schools and training facilities as well. So,
Okay,
um,
thank you,
yeah,
Julia. That maybe we can have a follow-up conversation as well, because that's a
and
really interesting
it's
idea.
free to everyone, and my very small audience is third grade through retirement. So
Thank you.
it's something for
Commissioner
everybody.
Munoz, I saw that you were trying to get in here. Did we lose her?
Thank you, Mari.
Oh,
I would also offer the eligible training provider list, which can be found on the Department of Labor's website under the Division of Employment and Training Services. It lists all of the eligible trainers in the state and the programs that they offer that are eligible for federal and state funding support. So for instance, if you go to the website, it starts with Able Seaman, and then it lists the provider AvTech or the Seafarers School of Seamanship or the University of Alaska Southeast. And then it goes down, it identifies careers in the list, and then the areas in the state where you could proceed with the training.
Thank you, Commissioner. And just to chime in on that, it does have a program format column on it, so you can see if it's offered online or in person.
that's great, Paloma. Thank you for sharing that. All right. And as we're talking, I was just writing a note to my team that there are so many ways that we share education and training and career awareness, career opportunities. And so maybe we can even make that a topic of our future BEC conversations and highlight AKCIS and the ETPL list and the places on our websites where we list career opportunities and training opportunities. So thank you for that conversation. And thanks for putting the links in there for AKCIS and ETPL. All right, do we have any other questions or comments from our BEC today? If not, I just want to encourage everyone to join us back here in February. Our next BEC meeting will be February 11th, and we are going to highlight the workforce training needs of the LNG pipeline. We're all waiting for an LNG pipeline announcement, and if depending on which direction that announcement goes, we may change our topic, but for now, that's what we are planning. So it's a really important topic. Hope to see you back here and have a good rest of your January, everyone. Happy New Year.